It's Joe Pardavila. Welcome back to the Forbes Books Podcast. And new year, new you, new job. If your New Year's resolution is to get in shape, you sign up for the gym. If you want to save money, maybe you build a budget. But if you're looking to make a career change, where do you even start? Some folks are getting an assist from executive and business coaches, and on this episode, I'm joined by a couple of them. Jack Dennison is the CEO of Optimize Career Solutions, and Jack Dennison is the company's COO. Together, they help high-achieving professionals gain confidence and take control of their career search and find their dream job. Kara, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Joe. I am thrilled to be here.
And Jack, welcome aboard as well.
Thank you, Joe. Excited.
So, Kara, I was sort of stalking you online, and that's sort of how we met. And one of the things that I constantly see in what your mission in life is, you help underpaid and underappreciated overachievers land their dream jobs, which is a big task. I'm sure this you don't take it lightly, but what is a dream job these days? Because I feel like we're, I don't know how old you guys are, but like to me, when I was growing up, a dream job is the job you get out of college, you do it as long as you can, and then you retire. So today in 2023, what is a dream job for someone?
That's a really great question. That was the old school mentality, right? You get a job at a company, you stay there, you end your career there with a nice pension, a watch, and a goodbye party, right? Nowadays, especially after a worldwide pandemic, with people watching their friends and their families, pass away and things like that, a lot of people have taken time to take stock of their life and really what they want out of it. And what we're noticing is that at the very base level, your career funds your life. And it also affects your life. If you're fulfilled at work, if you're making an impact at work, it tends to bleed into the rest of your life. You have a more fulfilled life. You have better relationships. Your mental health is better. Your physical health is better. The opposite is true as well. If you're unfulfilled, if you're underpaid, if you're stagnant, if you're not growing in your career, that tends to bleed into your life as well. Physical problems, mental health problems, relationship problems, etc. Right? And so people are taking a step back and they're saying, hey, it's not always just about having that long-term career at one place or just money these days. A dream job is really working for a company that values you just as much as you're putting in work for them, right? So being valued, having flexible time off, having a leader that cares about your professional goals and your personal goals, right? So that's more of a dream job these days for most people, is finding a company that they believe in, where they can make an impact, where they can be fulfilled, and that fits into their life goals as well.
And Jack, what you guys do there at Optimize Career Solutions is sort of career coaching. And this is one of those positions that, prior to maybe even 2000 or the 90s really didn't exist. And they're much more common these days. So Jack, what makes a good career coach?
Wow, such a great question, Joe. A good career coach is somebody, one, who understands the situation and what the environment is that you're actually going to have to traverse to get to where you want to go, but also somebody who can connect with you and really be able to kind of call out those blind spots that you might have and really provide the information that maybe you just didn't have access to because you were a little siloed in your career or your environment.
And without getting too crass, Kara, how does this work? Because I've never had to hire any kind of coach or advisor or consultant personally, but I know more and more people are doing it. Does someone call you up and say, hey, I need help? And then how does it work? The transactional side. And again, I hate to be crass, but I want to get out of the way. Like, how does the dynamic work between coach and, I guess, talent?
Yeah, sure. So people find us all over the place, right? So I've got a pretty decent following on TikTok, on Instagram, and most importantly on LinkedIn, because that's where a lot of professionals are. And so we put out a lot of value-driven content. My philosophy for my business is, hey, I want to put out a lot of value so that if you want to binge my content, get on my email list, binge my TikTok, you can have a strategic job search if you want to do it that way. It's a little bit tougher because, you'll have to do it all on your own. You have to piece it all together. But if you want to invest and get the strategies or work with a coach, you can do that too. And so people book free consultations. They get to talk with myself or Jack. And then we talk about their career. We want to know what their career goals are, and we want to know what's going on with their job search. Frankly, what tends to happen is this job search, the traditional way of applying via job boards, it's very frustrating. It doesn't provide a lot of ROI in the search when it comes to interviews and offers. And so we've kind of tapped into strategies that actually work, especially as you get up into the upper levels of your career. And so we have that conversation. We tell them what we do and how we can help support them. And if they decide they want to move forward, we have a couple of different ways they could do that. We have a course where they could do it on their own with the strategies. We can give them the course and do their resume and LinkedIn for them, or we can partner with them and we can coach them and be with them unlimited amount with interview prep and mindset, accountability, etc., to ensure that they're there to get that offer and in a place where they're really excited to work.
And Kara, you mentioned the word resume, and Jack, I want to get your take on this. I keep hearing a lot these days of like, the resume doesn't matter anymore. It's who you know, it's networking, all that stuff. So Jack, tell me about the importance of that paper, that resume, that CV.
It is who you know, Joe, but at the same time, you could tap somebody who you know, and if you're not telling a compelling story to that person, how are they going to be able to help you? How are they going to be able to actually see the value of bringing you into their organization? And that's really where the branding comes in. We need to be able to help people help us. And the best way to do that is by storytelling and showcasing your impact these days, and not trying to beat the algorithms, so to speak, and beat everybody to the top percentage of the analytics and the actual job board. It's really all about connecting with decision makers, connecting with people internally, and really showcasing your value, your accomplishments. If you can do this at a high level, then you can become that person everybody talks around the water cooler, that quote inside person who everybody was a little jealous that you had such an easy path to that position.
And Jack, you did talk about the algorithm, and I'm curious because you see folks in your industry, career coaching, resume coaching, all of that. Their big selling point is we know all the keywords. We know the things that'll get caught up in the algorithm. How important is that, Jack, in terms of what you guys do? Not the sort of the esoteric mindset stuff, but I'm talking about like the nitty gritty keyword algorithmic searching of being able to get your resume through that funnel. Like, how important is that, Jack, to what you guys do at Optimized?
I think it's less important than what most might believe. And the reason why is because if we focus a little less on the keywords, because everybody's focusing on keywords, right? All we're really doing is pushing ourselves into a pile, making it harder to be discerned by the decision makers when we're just providing all the same buzzwords everybody else is doing, which is why we want to almost dial that back a little bit, focus on the accomplishments of why you're uniquely qualified or how you can bring results that you've done in the past to this position or transferable skills if you're looking to transition industries, and really build genuine rapport and relationships with the people you're going to be networking with. And that's the part that a lot of people are missing in the job search is everybody's kind of spamming the job search, kind of binging it, and there's no actual relationships being built because nobody's actually been taught how to network appropriately.
And Kara, you mentioned earlier the word brand, and as a card-carrying Generation Xer, the idea of a brand to me was always Coca-Cola, McDonald's. But now we are seeing human beings as brands. And I think sometimes people have trouble, unless they're forward-thinking and they're amazing on social media like you guys are, people don't consider themselves a brand. But talk to me about that, people embracing this brand mindset.
Yeah, it's interesting when it comes to you and your career when you are in a job search, because now you have to start thinking about it in a different way when you're doing it a strategic way. Like Jack was saying, there are two ways you can attack your job search. Most people try and fill their resumes with those keywords and hit the job boards and all that other stuff. Because of the crowded airwaves, because of people spamming the job boards, your reality of landing an interview, it's really only about a 2 to 3% ROI on landing an interview if that's your strategy. The more long-term play to get you a short-term win for a job now, as well as creating a better strategy for your long-term career, is branding. And what we mean by that is setting yourself up as an industry leader in your industry or for the types of roles that you're going towards. What we really do is on your LinkedIn profile and on your resume is we, like Jack said, highlight your accomplishments, highlight your results, but more importantly, we brand you towards what you're going towards in the next step in your career and who you want to be in your career. Are you an IT leader? Are you an operational leader? Whoever you are. And the reason why is because when you are thinking about your career, you're actually selling yourself, right? In a job search, you're trying to match yourself with companies that align with your values, right? And when it comes to an interview, a lot of times people tend to sit back and put the interviewer into a more authoritative position. And really, you need to go in as a consultant and find out, hey, what do I have to offer you? But what does the company have to offer me? And is this a win-win solution? When it comes to the long-term play for your career, when you're building a network, when you're networking with individuals, what's great is we've had clients who have come in, branded themselves as an industry leader in their field, in their career, and then they've gone on and landed podcast interviews. They've become industry leaders who become consultants for major companies, land jobs, become sought after, right? And when you're doing this, you almost create job security for the rest of your career because now you're being sought after.
And LinkedIn has come up a couple times in this conversation. And again, as the card-carrying Gen Xer on the call here, when it first started, I was working in radio in New York, and to us, LinkedIn was almost like a joke. It was one of those things where because you didn't know what it was, and all of a sudden you get these emails being like, so-and-so would like you to connect on LinkedIn. And you're like, I don't know who this person is, what's going on. And it's funny to see how much it's grown to now where it's basically the social media network when it comes to careers and people in business. Kara, talk to me about this LinkedIn world where now you kind of really have to have this presence on there or you don't exist. Like I've had times where I'll Google someone and if their LinkedIn profile is basically like their name and like their title, I'll be like, is this person even real? So talk to me about the importance of LinkedIn.
Yeah. So when you are in a job search or just your career is important, right? Most times people will find you on LinkedIn before they even find your resume. And so a lot of times when we are working with people, we focus a lot on their LinkedIn prior to anything else. This is how you're finding decision makers. This is how decision makers find you. This is how recruiters find you. And LinkedIn, your profile is a fantastic opportunity to not only showcase your impact of how you've had impact in other companies throughout your career, but how you can potentially have impact on future companies. It also shows you as a human being, right? Resumes don't necessarily have that ability to show your human side, whereas on your LinkedIn profile, you get to share content that means something to you. Share content that means something to your career and how you've grown as a leader or a professional or a high achiever. You also get to share things about your accomplishments, your awards, your volunteer experience, all of that stuff, right? What's really great about LinkedIn too is that LinkedIn has a very interesting algorithm that's unlike any other social media profile or other social media platform rather. Other social media platforms, most of the time, besides TikTok, you really are only seeing people who are in your quote unquote network, your followers, etc. With LinkedIn, what's great is that as you post content and as your network engages with it, it now starts to get blasted to those people's second and third degree connections. And so if you have a piece that's okay or good and it's engaging, all of a sudden the virality potential becomes huge and you're getting in front of decision makers who can make or break your career just by your posts, right? And then they click onto your LinkedIn profile and they get to see how much you get to be of an impact to them and vice versa. LinkedIn search features are phenomenal if you know how to use them or if you go into different levels of their purchasing, right? Sales Navigator, etc. And so it is a phenomenally powerful tool to really move forward in your career. What's interesting and tough about LinkedIn is that it's not as user-friendly as some of the other social media platforms. And so sometimes when it comes to a job search, people default to what feels productive, gets you that dopamine hit of applying to jobs and not necessarily doing the work of searching out decision makers but it's all right there for you on LinkedIn.
And Jack, do you ever have trouble turning off your career coaching hat or your COO hat when you pop on someone's LinkedIn profile and you're like, what is this person even doing with their LinkedIn? This looks ridiculous. Like, are you, because I don't know you well enough, Jack, so are you super judgmental when you see someone have like a real like weak LinkedIn account and you're like, oh my God, what is this person even doing?
If they're further in their career, yeah, I guess I can be a little judgmental and a little harsh sometimes. But if somebody's younger in their career, I'm actually really glad to talk to them because it's a point to kind of illuminate how they can change things moving forward. So it really depends on where somebody is in their career. But past about 5 years in your career, yeah, the kid gloves come off.
Good. And Kara, I know you're the LinkedIn expert here, but just if you can, what's one mistake that you see people doing, no matter where they are along their career journey, that you see people make on LinkedIn? What's like one big mistake that always seems to pop up and kind of drives you crazy?
This is probably my best tip for LinkedIn. When you're engaging on LinkedIn and people aren't on your profile, the only information that people get to see of you is your profile picture, your name, and your headline. That's kind of the teaser information that drives people to want to click onto your profile. My biggest pet peeve is not optimizing those three pieces. Obviously, you can't do much with your name. Your name is what it is. But if you don't have your picture publicly viewable to everyone on LinkedIn, that's a big mistake because recruiters, there's studies that show that they don't tend to click on profiles that don't have a picture. And your headline is a big piece of real estate. So many people just default to that most recent title at most recent company. Customize it, make it engaging, make it clickable so people go to your profile.
And what do you think, Kara, about folks who overdo that headline? Because I've seen profiles where they literally have, like the 10 Commandments. And I'm like, that's way too much information in the headline. Is there a science to that? Like, do you say maybe, one or two sentences, three sentences? What looks good? Because to me, when there's too much information there, it just looks like, word salad. So what to you, as someone who knows what they're doing with LinkedIn, what is the right number of words, sentences in that headline?
There's no right way. I just always recommend that it's something that you're confident in and it tells who you are. So my formula that we tend to use is stating who you are and what you focus on. So it might be, award-winning operations leader focused on driving efficiencies and leading high-performing teams, right? So stating who you are and what you focus on or what you're really good at, so that if that's what a decision maker is looking on, they're going to click on your profile.
Excellent. And folks, that are using LinkedIn for their career search. And Jack, I'm curious, what has changed over the last couple of years since the pandemic in terms of what people want in that next job during their career path? Because, the one thing, I speak to a lot of recruiters and folks in the HR space. I know flexibility comes up a lot. But the folks you deal with, Jack, are sort of like the senior level and mid-level people. Are they looking for the same thing that a lot of people are? Like, you always see the top 5 things. It's like flexibility, ability to work from home, unlimited vacation. But like, are the folks you work with, are they kind of looking for the same thing as well?
Joe, it really depends on the individual. Each person has that one key thing that they're looking for. Maybe it's relocation. They don't like the area of the country that they're in. Maybe they've been kind of stagnant and just kind of maybe more have gone through their career like an automatron, not necessarily making intentional decisions. And now they've arrived at this place 10 years later where they're like, how did I get here? And they realize they didn't take the promotions. They didn't go after things that other people did. And so it could be just needing a title. It could be wanting more compensation to feel more value. A lot of things that we're hearing, though, it's around community. It's around environment. It's around feeling valued these days. Whereas it seems like the connection, the personalization of the corporate environment has kind of gone by the wayside with COVID, and everybody's just trying to just kind of keep pushing things forward. And we have kind of lost that human aspect.
Carrie, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I will say to answer that part, because I have that HR, I've been on that HR recruiter side, and you read all the studies and you try and make sure that your company is hitting it to attract the top talent. We work with the people who are on the ground feeling that a lot of our clients are burnt out. They're feeling that burnout, that stress. And so what they're really wanting is a company that values them, that understands that. And the flexibility is a huge high thing up on their list, and that might be working from home. We have had a lot of people who want to get back into that office because they miss that community. They feel isolated too. So when it comes to the flexibility, I would say that that is a big key thing, but the definition of flexibility needs to be fleshed out when it comes to flexibility and understanding that, hey, life comes first, right? My kids come first, sicknesses, etc., right? But that's kind of where it is. The culture of the company becomes much more important these days after everything that we've been going through.
And so, Kara, talk to me about how you guys are helping folks today, because we've been hearing about the R word, the recession, for so long, and I feel like it's here, but it's not, and and everyone keeps bringing it up. How is this going to affect folks? Because as we're recording this, Amazon announced they were laying off 17,000 people. The tech companies, major tech companies. Oh, Salesforce, which Mark Benioff has was anointed a saint for being this amazing leader, and they're going to be laying off thousands and thousands of people. Man, what is this? What does 2023 hold for the folks you're working with or going to be working with because of all the tumult that we see in the near future?
Yeah, there is a lot of churn in the marketplace, but it's actually interesting. I've done a lot of research on this because it's scary in the marketplace. It's scary listening to the news. But what's really interesting is the numbers that I got most recently were in November. I'm going to have to look for the December numbers, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics are actually showing that these news and the news of the recession are hiding a very rich job market right now. As of November, and we're recording this at the beginning of January 2023, November 2022, our unemployment rate was 3.7%. As of February 2020, it was 3.5%. So right before the pandemic, right? In February 2020, we had 7 million jobs open in the marketplace. Well, in November 2022, we had 10 million. So we have more jobs in the marketplace than we did before the pandemic. And it's scary because we see all these layoffs, and that's what's going in the news and things like that. Now, some companies, they didn't plan well, right? And so they're doing layoffs, all this other stuff, but there are other companies that are actually doing really well. They might not be the tech giants and all that other stuff, but the job market is hot right now. And for those who are looking to make a change or get into the job market, and who have the experience, and those who are going through layoffs are getting snatched up pretty quickly. So for those who are looking to make a change, those who are potentially afraid or scared or whatever, that's all normal. Change is scary. But if you're looking to potentially do a change in 2023, my recommendation to anyone is do it smart, do it strategically. The job boards right now are flooded. Recruiters are flooded. And so what we always recommend is to have a strategic job search, bypass the job boards, get connected to people, get employee referrals in, network your way in, and the opportunities are there.
And Jack, I know you're the mindset guy here. So what kind of mindset should folks have what Kara and I were just talking about in terms of like what's going to be happening in 2023? Because I think for a lot of folks, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, people were like, all right, let's batten down the hatches. Let's get rid of the coffee machine and the seltzer machine because we need to start saving money. So people were doing all this, like they were cutting back on things before they even knew they had to cut back on things. So so people immediately rushed into that like emergency mindset. Mm-hmm. What kind of mindset should people have now?
I think there's a great talk on this that Simon Sinek actually gave, talking about the infinite game. And he was in this talk talking about how Apple was not concerned with Microsoft, and they were just concerned with wanting to provide the best products for the people. That's the reason why everybody loves Apple, is because they're on the cutting edge of everything. And it's the infinite game. You need to be able to play this game for as long as it takes. If you feel that you're going to just give X amount of effort and expect the return, you're probably going to end up coming up empty-handed at some point in this job search. And you're going to need to stay bought in and consistent in this job search until you see those results. And it's those people who put a limitation or a belief of how long it's going to take. And they say, I've got this energy reserves, or I've got this amount of time and I'm going to use this and it's going to get me that. Really quelling those expectations and realizing that it's really about just the structure and the process. Put the effort and time in there. Don't focus so much on the outcome. Just really focus on the actions that you have in front of you to get to where you want to go. If you could chunk that down and really think about the micro gains, to steal some James Clear atomic habits, and really focus on that in your job search, and just add small things to kind of make yourself better. Build your capacity so you could do more and more a day, and maybe consistent to an hour to two a day. If you're able to kind of do that, you're going to beat out all these other people who binge a job search for 8 hours on the weekend. And then they get burned out because they got a bunch of rejections, or they didn't hear back from all those 50 opportunities that they applied for. And so we're really big on just staying consistent and managing your energy, your mindset, and giving yourself the self-care as you go through the process, because we mentally beat ourselves up the minute something doesn't go our way. And we need to be prepared for that no.
And Kara, one thing I want to ask you about is timing. You know, the old saying, timing is everything. And we're talking about the time we're at now. But sometimes for the folks that are going through this career change, whether it's forced or voluntary, it's that time, like the time it takes to find that next job. How important is your role in this, in making sure that they're able to get through this rocky period? Because, you know, for people looking for a job, it can be pretty stressful and can really take a toll. I mean, as much as a horrible job could take a toll on someone, the search for a mediocre job could be just as bad. So, I mean, are people like frustrated? Are people wanting to speed things up? Because it seems like as much as life moves fast, man, sometimes it goes really slow.
Ain't that the truth? So yeah, when it comes to a job search, on average, and it takes longer for the higher you go up in your career. On average, it's going to take anywhere from 5 to 6 months. There's a saying that for every $10,000 that you want to make, it's going to take a month to get your job. And that can take a long time. And there's a reason why when you go to a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they give you a form and they say, have you done any of these events in the last X amount of time? And a job search is on it. It's because it's one of the most stressful things that you can do. And so when it comes to timing, our coaching program, our course is designed to help you get a job within 90 days. The reason why we do that, and of course it's going to take shorter for some people and longer for others, is because we want to cut out the time. If you're going to be, like Jack said, binging the job search or not doing it strategically, going to the job boards, it's going to take longer, and that plays on your mindset. You start getting rejection letters and you start feeling rejected, and you start questioning your worth, whether this is even worth it to you. Should you take a step back? Should you pivot, etc.? What we have found in our coaching program, and why we've designed it the way we have, and some of the key parts of it are, we have a dedicated burnout coach. And the reason why is because I've suffered massive burnouts twice in my life that have ended me in the hospital. I've watched my clients burn out, and I don't want them to go through a whole job search where they get a new job feeling like they've just ran a marathon and they need a vacation, right? I want them to feel like they have been able to transform, heal some of those potential limiting beliefs, and be ready to set boundaries and go in their new job excited and fulfilled. So we have that, we have mindset coaching, and we do all of those things while we're teaching you strategic job search tactics, so that we're eliminating the time and we're keeping your mindset in a positive and motivated place, so that you can do this in less time. We've noticed with our clients who are in good mindsets, who can overcome rejection quickly and can stay motivated, it works much faster.
And Jack, I know there's this saying, the best time to look for a job is when you have a job. So is that true? I mean, do you feel like the folks that are just have the opportunity to have this search going on in the background, as opposed to just dominating their life, that's a helpful thing? Like, my question is, should people be looking for other jobs while they're at their current job, even though they might be happy? Like, how do you balance that? What do you say to folks like that?
Oh, such a good question. I think it really comes down to your why. It really comes down to if you're feeling in any way, shape, or form not aligned. If you are starting to feel that and you have a job, you should start looking. And because like Kara said, it could take some time. And we never know how the environment could shift and change. It could get better at your current location. You could always stop the job search. But really making sure that you are intentional on checking in with yourself is going to be key, and making sure that you're feeling aligned. It is easier to land a job when you already have a job, that just brass tacks. And it's the reason why is because recruiters, the people internal HR, they tend to view people who are already employed as wanted commodities. So they value those people slightly above the ones who are quote unquote unemployed. And that's why one of those tips that we talk about on LinkedIn is don't necessarily put that open to work thing there, because it's basically letting people surface level know that you're unemployed, and they already can kind of bump you down a notch because of that potentially in their head. And we want to really just have a conversation, see if you are a good fit first before you even kind of go that route.
Now, recruiters shouldn't be viewing you that way. It just is sometimes human nature. But when you're unemployed, it can play on your mindset too. You start worrying about, when is my finances going to run out? How long is this going to take? When you're employed, those worries don't play in as much.
You know, to me, you guys describing that, it almost feels like when you were young and single, you almost like you can never meet anyone, but as soon as you start, you got a relationship with someone, all of a sudden, all these people are coming out of the woodwork thinking how attractive you are, and it's just so weird how life is. It's like once all of a sudden you have this job, and you're like, wait a minute, there's all these other better jobs out there, and then when you were unemployed, you're like, please, just give me any job. I'll take anything I can get. It's so weird, Jack. When it comes to mindset, how do you level up with that? Because it seems like that could be a real mind effer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it really is kind of, you have to take account for where you are. You have to look at the situation. Do you have the finances and the bandwidth to kind of do a job search? If you don't, well, then you might have to take something that might not necessarily be ideal to put food on the table, to pay the bills while you continue to find that job that's going to fund your joy of being and make you feel aligned. But if you aren't in that space and you have the bandwidth, then in that case, you should be spending the time really making sure that you're curating every possible opportunity. You're not just jumping into any offer that comes your way. You're really vetting companies to find out, is there a path for career growth for me? Does leadership communicate the way I like? What would my team be like? What is the community aspect of this type of organization? What type of hybrid or remote flexibility do they offer? All of those things kind of play in, and really being crystal clear on being intentional on what you need in that next role and what your key wants are. That's really what we kind of need to structure first and foremost, and then everything else can kind of go from there.
And Carol, speaking of careers, let's talk about your career. You and Jack. I mean, the fact that you have this career where you are changing lives. I mean, I don't mean to be overdramatic about it. You are literally changing people's lives by helping them become fulfilled. The stuff we talked about at the top of the pod was, you know, the you having a good job also will reflect on your actual personal life. So how good does it make you feel that you are doing this work and helping people feel fulfilled?
I wake up every day not even believing that this is my life. Jack and I get to have this conversation all the time. I loved my job in HR. I loved working in HR, doing all those types of functions, but it started to feel like I couldn't put my head on the table, being that recruiter, watching resumes get rejected or pass through the applicant tracking system and not being aligned and burning out, right? And now I get to sit here and hold the mirror up to clients and watch them transform right before my eyes, going from feeling rejected and unworthy to telling me on these Zooms, I am worthy and I'm going to turn this opportunity down because it doesn't align with what I know I deserve in the marketplace. And it is phenomenal watching people grow in their confidence, grow in their worthiness, and go after what they really want in their lives. And we, in our coaching program, we teach skills that aren't always taught these days. Networking skills, interviewing skills, all of these things, but also ways to really, like I said before, build job security in your career. And when you have that knowledge, Jack and I were just talking to someone about this, about how knowledge, skills are things that can never be taken away from you. And when you get this knowledge and this confidence, it's transformative. And Jack and I, we transform every day alongside of our clients, and we're different versions of ourselves than we were even a year ago or a couple months ago. And it's very life-giving. I am blessed and grateful every dang day.
Joe, I got a little emotional when you asked that question, because really seeing the transformations and being hands-on, watching people change the trajectory of their lives, it really motivates me to want to be the best version of myself every day and want to provide the utmost service and care to every single person that I work with. And I find it a pleasure to be able to take somebody from where they are and provide the ladder, which is something Kara and I talk about, building the ladder to be able to get them up the staircase to where they can get a job, they can go through a RIF 3 months after landing a job of their dreams, and then take the same strategies, knowing that they can do it on their own and then go getting even more compensation. That is what lights us every single day, our passions. And we are so blessed to be able to do this for our clients.
Well said. And I guess I have to ask this. You guys are a married couple, and I feel like it's the elephant in the room. What's it like running a company with your better half? Because I can't imagine doing that with my wife. So Kara, talk to me about the dynamic between the two of you.
We like to say that we're double married. And I don't think this is for everyone, but Jack and I have a very unique relationship. We are extremely close. I'm emotional talking about this. We're obsessed with each other. Jack and I, he knows everything about me. I feel like I know everything about him, and he is the one person that I want to spend all of my time with. I never get bored. He's my best friend. We can have conversations about anything and everything. And sometimes I miss him when I'm in my office and he's in his, in the same house right across the hall. And it wasn't always like this. I think it's great. We're in a great place now. But when we first got started, there were a lot of growing pains. I started the business and I brought him in, and there was a big learning gap to get him up to where we are now at a equal partnership. And it was tough. There were a lot of fights and yelling and learning and shifting of duties and things like that. But to get to where we are now, where we're at a really great singing place of just operating and moving together, it's fantastic. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication, and it's a lot of open communication and realizing that we're on the same team. And what we do just tactically is we treat the business and the household as things that we need to attack together as a team. And they are tasks, and they are not owned by either of us. We just tackle it as a team. So no gender roles, no nothing. He cooks more than I do. And it just works because we just know that everything needs to get done so that we can go to bed at the end of the night.
Well, Jack, I guess you better say something nice here.
I think I've just been blessed and won the lottery, Joe. I mean, I met a woman who was working in HR, who was doing fantastic things and really helped me kind of start my career multiple times. And really, I owe so much of what I do today to her, because she's taught me so much about this job searching world, so much about HR, and so much that has allowed me to help these professionals. Now, granted, I had a skill set before that, that from the mindset, the motivation, the accountability, but she really has changed my life and continues to change it every single day.
All right, that's enough of this love fest. You guys go get a room, okay? Jack Dennison, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate you having on the show. And Jack, thank you.
Joe, it was a pleasure.
And Kara, where's the best place for folks to find out all your information, find out more about you and Jack? Where should they look?
Absolutely. You can check us out at optimizedcareersolutions.com. You can book free consultations with us. You can find us on LinkedIn, Kara Dennison, SPHR for me, Jack Dennison for him, or you can check me out on TikTok. It's Kara Dennison, SPHR.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. And that is it for this episode of the Forbes Books Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you take a second to subscribe so you automatically get new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I'd love if you left us a review so more amazing entrepreneurs like yourself can discover the show. And please don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Until next time, adios.